Hello. I'll try to keep the momentum of the Ignite Carroll, a really excellent presentation so far. So we all have received and we give a lot of advice all the time, but it's quite rare to get good advice. So I thought of putting together the best advice that we have received from some of the greatest entrepreneurs of our time. To start with, first is Steve Jobs. I mean, he has said a number of things which will be inspirational for us for years to come. But there was one thing which I thought somebody had told me in my high school years or during my college years, which would have been very useful to me, which was the idea of how things connect. And what he wanted to say was that the ideas, the events, the people that we experience in our life, they all connect together in amazingly surprisingly, in amazingly positive ways in our life. The key thing is basically to make sure that we have these so-called interesting dots more and more in our life. And I'm hoping today that this Ignite Carroll is one of the interesting dots in my life. And one of the things, and the next one in this is Bill Gates. And this, you might be surprised and you might find it funny. One of the things that Bill Gates, one of the world's richest men, said that life is not fair. We should get used to it. And this is, I'm sure, some of us has said it many times. And the other thing he has said is about that success is a lousy teacher, that sometimes entrepreneurs, they get complacent and they stop innovating. In my experience, I found that success can actually be addictive, that at times I've used it for mentoring, where in some cases, people who were underperforming, when for the first time they tasted success, that success was so addictive, they wanted more and more of it. And the next one is, okay, that was 15 seconds, is Jeff Bezos, who created the business empire of Amazon. One of the things he said was about how in business meetings we typically ask the question of why are we doing this. His advice was we should be thinking about why we are not doing this, which I thought was quite powerful. And one of the things he said was about that we should be willing to be misunderstood. Many times I've been in large business corporate meetings where you have 20 people and nobody would say anything because everybody's afraid to be misunderstood, or they feel they might say something wrong. However, you have to take the chance and you have to say something. Well, founders of Google, not surprising, one of the things that they said was that if you're doing something, when you're changing the world, you're always excited to get up in the morning. And I believe in the same thing. I think we all need to have a job or do things that excites us, which is an inspiration to get up in the morning. Howard Schultz, he created the business empire of Starbucks. 20 years ago, people would have laughed at the idea of buying coffee for $4 or $5, but he again challenged those old way of thinking and created something which is now one of the biggest business empires. Mark Zuckerberg, well, he said something called embrace paranoia. Honestly, I don't understand what that means. I'll leave it to you to guess. I think we need to give him another 5-10 years to say something which might be helpful for us in the future. But one thing I would say that we shouldn't do, which Mark Zuckerberg did, was he was carrying around this business card which said this, which I think would be my advice, that you shouldn't do something like this. It would hurt you in your business career. And the next one is John Mackey, who created the business empire of Whole Foods. One of the things he said was about, again, the idea of constantly learning and growing, which I've used in my life, where if I think I'm not learning in my job or in my profession, it's a time to move on. And he, just like Jeff Bezos, he also talked about that we should be willing to make mistakes. If you're trying to grow, there's just no way that you will not make mistakes. So I think we have to be prepared to take those chances and to make some mistakes. Herb Keller, who created Southwest, well, he said something very simple, but it's quite powerful. We all like to talk about ideas and strategies, but the key thing is actually the person who actually gets the things done. So again, we have to basically keep that focus that we want to do great things. Narayana Murthy, who created Infosys, he made the point about, again, we have to make an investment for the future, so we have to make some sacrifices today, and we have to have that vision of long-term, which is not an easy thing. You have to, again, have that long-term strategy while you're doing things. Sam Walton, who created Walmart, well, his idea was simple: give people what they want. In his case, people wanted discounted products, so he created the biggest discount chain, which became one of the biggest retail outlets in the world. Next one, Muhammad Yunus, he got the Nobel Peace Prize. He created a microfinance bank where the idea was basically giving these small gifts, which in his words become and produce really big impacts. And a good example is Facebook, for example. It was created out of just a $1,000 investment, and that became one of the biggest companies. And that's the closing words that which he said that human beings are much bigger than just making money. I know there's an old saying from Wall Street that greed is good, which I think we have to just take his words that we are more than just greed. We are basically about doing much bigger things. Thank you so much.